where are you limiting yourself? Where do you feel you have no self-worth? Because when you run up everything to the limit, that means you feel overwhelmed in life, and that is what is projected out into your finances. So you need to go through every aspect of your life and look at, where am I overwhelmed? Where am I doing too much? Where do I need to change my direction and my energy so that things can flow smoothly? Another thing is, if you're a person who hoards, who doesn't spend, and who holds on to things, we have to remember that money is an energy. It's just a frequency. And if there's something that you want, go get it. Yes, sometimes it has to be out on a limb, but as you go through life and you start putting out more energy towards the things that you want as a goal, more energy will come into you. It's kind of like when you have a closet full of old clothing and you really want new clothes, but you have no place to put it. Well, once you start getting rid of your clothes and giving them away, then you have room in your closet for the new clothes. And it's the same thing with money. Old money stagnates. You need to get it going. I'm not telling you not to save for things that you want or to have a cushion. Yes, that's important too. But to not have any progress or to stagnate your spending and your expenses, this is not a good thing for you. Keep everything moving in a flow that is easy for you to deal with. Another person writes in, I'm on a loop. How do I break the cycle? Well, stop what you're doing. Stop doing those cycles, the old things. See where you create negativity. And remember, we spend, human beings spend a lot of energy creating negative situations. You could take that same energy and create a positive situation. So look at the actions that are repetitive, that have led you to this stagnation of a loop in the cycle in your finances, and see where you can stop the flow of that negative energy and redirect it into something new. Look for new directions all of the time. Another person writes in, I want to change my money situation for good and be able to come to the April seminar despite the world being all about debt. Well, Janet, I think you have a special link that you're going to give it to people out there.
In a little bit, we're going to do that. But first of all, we want to be sure that they get the information that they need.
Okay. And so when you want to change your money situation, as I said, remember that money is energy. So look at where your personal energy is going. The money is simply an outgrowth or a representation symbolically of your mind pattern. So you must look within yourself to see where you're stagnating. Where do you have patterns of abandonment, low self-worth, self-punishment, even programming issues that keep you down at all times? These must be removed. And a person writes in, every time I make some extra money, some unexpected expense pops up, and that takes it and then some. Well, what is that? That's sabotage, because it's like what my mother used to tell me as a child, which was a terrible imprinting. She would say to me, sing in the morning and you'll cry at night. So I was always afraid to be happy because I figured, well, I'll have to pay for that later. I never realized you can be happy all of the time and there's no punishment for it. Well, it's the same thing with money and expenses. If you have a mind pattern thinking, well, if I get extra money, I'm going to have to just send it out somewhere, something else is going to happen. Well, that's exactly what you will create. And when this person says, every time I make extra money, well, then they're going to create the situation where the unexpected comes in, and then they have to send it out in an unexpected way. So don't expect or anticipate negativity with your finances. Expect only good things. Outpicture the end result of what you want. You want a car, you want a house, you want new clothes. See yourself in them. See yourself using them in living color. Make it as perfect as an image as you possibly can imagine, and then put that image in brown and ground it. And then you put yourself in brown to let the image go on its way so that it can go through the universe and the energies and then come back to you in the most appropriate manner. Another person writes in, no matter how hard I try, I can't find a job. Well, that is a problem that people have been writing into me about for the last couple of years. Well, don't participate in this unemployment. consider creating your own work. If you listen to the news, if you read the newspaper and it tells you how hard things are and how difficult it is to find work in certain fields of business, then that's going to imprint you to think you cannot have it. Don't pay attention to what other people tell you. Don't listen to the news and to the flow of events in the world, because if you do, you'll get caught up in it, and then you'll get in that repetitive cycle. So what I tell people is, if you can't find a job out there, make your own. I want you to think about whatever it is in life that you love to do. It doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter what the income is generally for that kind of work. But no matter what it is that you love to do, and you could just do that every single day, that's the kind of work or career that you want to have. And so I want you to imagine, even if it's, cleaning the street or washing toilet bowls or being a chef or working in a bank, whatever it happens to be that you love to do, that's the kind of job that will bring abundance and prosperity. And why does that work? Because when you're happy in what you do and you look forward to doing that every moment of your life, that creates abundance and prosperity. In most of the Western world, I'd say a good 70 to 80% of the population out there works in jobs that they hate. They don't like getting up to go to work. They don't like doing what they're doing at work. They can't wait to rush out at whenever their hours end. And that creates a very heavy, dense energy in their life that filters down into their finances to become heavy and dense as well. And so then they can't spend what they need. They can't get the income in for what they want, and everything is a struggle. And speaking of a struggle and a conflict, it's also important that you live in a location that matches your frequency. Because if you live in a place that does not match your frequency, then life becomes a struggle and a conflict, and you're just trying to survive every day. But when you live where your energy matches the local area, then you blossom and you bloom, and that represents prosperity and wealth. So I need all of you to look at where you live, look at your frequencies, and of course I do that on my geographic locator reports, and you can look at, say, okay, do I really belong here? Am I happy living in this location? And it's not just the geographic location, but it's also your home, your neighborhood, the section of town that you live in. You need to be happy in all those categories across the board. And if you are, then you can create wealth and prosperity very easily. But if any of those things disturb you, your neighborhood, your home, something within your home, then right away you put a block on the energy, and wealth and prosperity cannot manifest. So please take a look at your personal experiences and your personal circumstances and see where it is that you need to change or make improvements. Now, the next question is, I'm about to lose my house. What should I do? That is a very important issue going on globally, but especially in the Western world, industrialized world. We must remember that the house is the mansion of your soul. So you feel like you're losing your own identity or your own personalities. You need to ask yourself, what boundaries do I have with other people? Am I surrounded by energy vampires who take and take and take and give nothing in return? Look at where you are and where you're not being yourself, because when you are not true to your own identity, that's going to extrapolate to your home, which represents your personality within. And then if you're losing your self-identity, you can lose your home. It doesn't matter if your mortgage is worth more than the selling price and people are just walking away from their homes. In California, what's happening out there? All the houses are worth less than the mortgage, so people can't even sell to pay off their debts, so they're just walking away and abandoning. What is that a mind pattern of? It's a mind pattern of abandoning their self-identity, saying, I don't want to be who I am, I'm just going to leave my life. And then they try to become something that they're not, and that's even more of a struggle. Janet, should we get into the 7 steps of wealth and prosperity?
Well, we could go ahead with that, I guess. We want to be sure and give people a chance to kind of digest what you've said, because you've said a lot in a very short period of time. And we have a lot of people with a lot of issues out there, so we just want to make sure that everything is clear. And I know some people have had problems joining us at this point, but we will be sending you the link when it's done. And I know we have had a few technical difficulties, so thank you for your patience. We're getting everything worked out. But I think it's good that we let you know and understand that regardless of what's going on out there in society, that it's really an opportunity for you to overcome and not to be put down by what's happening. Because people have a tendency to buy into what's being put out on the newspapers, and they're being told what the unemployment figures are, the housing sales are, and so on and so forth. Well, you alone, you are one person, and one person can make a difference, and you can pull to you whatever it is that you need. There are so many people who have absolutely everything that they need. If you look at the upper echelons of society compared to what the average person has, they're doing quite well. And as I told you before, it doesn't really matter what the economic times, it's the mind pattern that creates what comes to you versus what society as a whole is putting out. The society is still functioning as a mass mind pattern or a group mind pattern, and you are working your way to becoming individualized, meaning that no matter what happens out there, it does not have to affect you unless you choose to let it affect you. Now, when you're in the middle of things and it's rough, then the question that comes into your mind is, well, it sounds good, and you know, what she's saying is great, but that's not the reality of my world. But again, you know, go back to our books, read Montauk Alien Connection, read Blue Blood, and you will see what we have been through. There have been more times that we have either lost our home or been on the verge of losing our home. And we have had to make the decision, do I want to keep doing this the rest of my life, or am I ready to let the mind pattern go? So when we dug in our heels and decided we're ready to let these mind patterns go, that's when everything started flowing for us. It's a challenge, but it doesn't mean that it's not a challenge that can't be overcome, because the point is these are the blocks that you place out there for yourself so that you can turn them from a block into a stepping stone to rise up and go beyond it without being affected by what you're being bombarded with, to prove to yourself that no matter how thick or dense the energy is, that the personal power of your own mind can cut through all the dense energy out there to create what you want, that you have the opportunity to connect to the limitlessness of the God mind. You put your foot forward, you connect, and you let nothing stand in your way, because you are now a surpasser rather than just a survivor, and you deserve to have fun in your life, entertainment, enjoyment, happiness, much more than what the media would outpicture or paint for you. It's up to you. So with that, Stewart, why don't you go ahead? We have outlined 7 steps that will help you get to where you need. So if you're taking notes, take notes. If you're going to be listening to the link, you can fill in some of the spots yourself as we get moving. So, Stewart, go ahead with number 1.
Okay, but first, before I go there, I just want to say after we do these steps, then we'll get to some more questions. And these are the 7 steps that Janet and I have used in order to change the mindset of poverty and lack into prosperity and abundance. And so we know from firsthand experience that it does work. So step number 1, and this is the hardest one, take responsibility for what you have done. And that means you're not going to say, I'm in this situation because the government created a bad economy, or because there was a flood, or because the weather destroyed the crops and the food prices went up. You're not going to blame external events or other people for what you have created, because you know what? The world and everybody in it are playing a part that you're giving them. So you must take responsibility